Welcome to season 4, Fostering Change, the #1 podcast in adoption and foster care. Each week we speak to the most amazing good humans about topics that touch each and every one of us. If you have a guest suggestion or interested in sponsoring our podcast, please visit us at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, sit back, enjoy, learn, get motivated, and let's speak to some fascinating guests. Well, it is so hard to believe that we are already in season 4. I remember in season 1 when it ended, I was like, yeah, I think I've done this and it's fun and I'm not going to do it again. And then 2 came around and then 3 came around and now it's 4. And I'm telling you, I am so energized. I am energized because of how many people have reached out to truly say that by listening to this podcast, it really has educated them. And that's what it's all about. It's also given us opportunities to tell our story. I remind people all the time, each and every day, each and every one of us have a story. And no matter what that story is, it can impact someone's life, just like my next guest. I actually was very lucky that someone actually introduced me to my next guest and said, I think you need to know this guy. Well, little did he know that I started stalking him on social media because I was trying to find out exactly, who he was. But then this came in the mail, and this was truly changing for me. As you all know, my story and my memoir that's been out there, and I've read a lot of books, and I will have to tell you I have stacks of them that I'm still trying to get through. And I will tell you that there's not all books I recommend. Sorry, some of you writers, but this one is truly a changer because it opens your eyes on so many. So, without further ado, Cody, welcome to Fostering Change.
Well, thank you. And thanks for that amazing introduction. I'm really happy to be here.
So, Cody, I want to really just jump right into it. So, first of all, you and I have such a similarity in our story. It was absolutely wicked weird for me. Okay. I just want to tell you.
Okay.
So, the first thing I want to start out with the fact that you are a hairdresser.
I am.
So my husband's a hairdresser, been a hairdresser for over 20 years.
I didn't know that.
Yes. My husband actually has his master's in interior design, but for the whole way he got through college was working for Aveda. And when
I worked for Aveda.
I know.
Yeah.
When I met my husband 18 years ago, he was working for Aveda in Georgetown. And so before we had our children, and he was going to school to get his master's in interior design. He was a hairdresser. So I have to talk about that topic because you do hair for some amazing people.
I'm very lucky in that sense that they let me do their hair.
Oh my gosh. I truly do find that, before I met Reese, I just thought going to the barbers was just something I just did. But what I found out is that it truly it's a piece of art. And, knowing the coloring and the low lights and highlights, listen, I even know.
I love it.
I even know the terminology, to have the low lights and the highlights and all the length and how it shapes your face and stuff like that. So I have to tell you a little secret. Okay.
Okay.
My husband doesn't cut my hair.
Right.
So
I don't cut his hair either.
so my kids, all 5 of our kids, my husband cuts their hair, but my husband and I realize that we have a better marriage if he doesn't cut my hair because I'm too picky and I want it cut too often.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of times they have you do it like once a week. I'm like, it's allowed to grow.
No, that's what Reese says to me all the time. And I want mine cut every other Monday. And so, I definitely listen. I am so unbelievably impressed with, Changing the Stars, your memoir. I need to let our listeners and viewers know. I mean, I have to tell you, this book was very raw to me. You truly opened up yourself in ways that, as someone who's written a memoir, you didn't leave anything out. I really want to know how that felt when you sat down and started writing that.
Well, I love that. I felt extremely vulnerable, which I'm not unfamiliar to being vulnerable. So it wasn't too scary for me. And once I set my mindset that what I was about to do could possibly help others and many others, then that helped fuel me. So that I just shed the vulnerability and just let it pour out. And I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I've got to say it all and do it all, because what I'm doing is reaching out to those people who still identify as a victim, who don't know how to dig their way out of their current mindset. And what I'm doing is trying to help them rise up and heal and do the work and choose happiness. So for me, sitting down and being scared to put my story was overshadowed by the mission and by what I wanted to do with my story.
Yeah. The fact is that, as I was saying, there's so many similarities of your story and my story. The first thing that really pulled me in and was the sexual abuse that you went through, and as myself as well. And being a gay man, that was my biggest fear when I first, I remember being in my late teens and realizing that I was different. And I wanted to blame it on the fact of, all of the rapes that had happened as a young boy. Had to be something that you thought about.
I did think about that, and I've been asked that many times, but my answer to that is that, well, the direct question usually is, do you think you're gay because you were molested by men when you were young? And my first thought is, everybody wonders if they were born gay, or if it was nature versus nurture. You had an overbearing mother if you were molested, or some people are molested, they turn out to be very promiscuous. Some people are molested, they turn out to be pushing away. And so my thing is, I think that I am gay 100%, and that's all that matters. I love myself, who I am, how I got here. Doesn't matter. I love exactly who I am. So
Oh my
I don't
God.
care how I got here. I'm a big proud gay.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to have to remember that, by the way, because, that's exactly how I feel too, is that, but I'm also one of these people that I don't wear gay on my sleeve. So I'm just Rob, and I'm a dad. And, and to me, that is more important than someone having to say, well, oh, that's gay Rob, or the gay dad, or, so, the fact is you were in the Army.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Briefly out of the Army.
I did a Navy briefly. I did the Navy,
Okay.
but the Army was a little bit too manly for me. So I'm very, very impressed that you did.
Not enough color.
I absolutely love that. I love that. So when you wrote your memoir, some of the things that as I was reading in there, I really truly thought about the fact of what you were trying to get across to people who, and one of the things as you just brought up, and I want to really talk about this, is that whole victim mentality. For me as a public speaker, I travel the country, I talk to kids all over who are in the system, and I see that quite often, is that victim mentality. Instead of helping to change the system, they want to blame the system. What would you tell yourself if you looked back and was able to speak to that boy who at one point we all felt like we were a victim? What would you say to him?
Oh, I love that one too. These are the best questions. Okay, so one of the biggest tools I had that helped me is actually going back in my mind and speaking to 5-year-old Cody or 7-year-old Cody. And I go back and I say, you know what, buddy? You're strong. You're going to be okay. You have an amazing future ahead of you. And it's not too late to heal that Cody. That Cody's not gone. He's still in here, So for me to go back and speak to my younger self is a very powerful tool. So what I tell that Cody on a daily basis is, you are enough. You are more than enough, and you are so strong, and you're going to make it. But I think that one thing that I didn't do as much as I should have is reach out to those that were reaching out to me. I didn't listen. I was scared. I was scared that those people that are reaching out to me, that I couldn't trust them. I couldn't grab their hand. That wasn't it. But knowing mankind more so now, I realized that I could have reached out to those hands and I would have been perfectly safe. But not to. So to answer your question, what I could say to the younger Cody that I haven't said yet is, reach back.
Reach back.
You have an army behind you. There's an army behind you.
Well, kids like you and I who have either been in the system, grew up in the system, dealt with the trauma that we've dealt with. We actually suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder twice the rate as our combat veterans who are coming back from the front line.
Which is the reason I was taken out of the military, was from PTSD.
Yeah.
They say you already have it. You showed up with it.
Yeah, you showed up with it. And that is so, for me, I think my therapist that I talk to every single Monday, it's made my life better. I'm a better dad because of it. I have a better marriage because of it. I have a better work environment because of my therapist. Tell me about what you feel about the therapy.
There's no downside to therapy. I mean, there's no downside to any form of self betterment or self improvement. And, I think that one of the biggest ways that we can overcome our past is we have to see our triggers and we have to see our patterns. We have to see our triggers and our patterns, and all of those things are linked all the way back to things back then. So, I mean, they came from somewhere. We weren't born with triggers and these
Right.
things. So I think that doing counseling or any form of therapy can help you dig up the root of the problem. And once you trace that all the way back and you find that root, it's funny how it just kind of magically disappears. You do that work, you do that legwork, you do that healing, and poof, it's gone.
I have to agree with you on that. And the fact is I was just getting ready to ask you about the triggers, because even for me, I'm 55 years old, and I still have to prepare myself for when I know those triggers are going to happen, because they still do. Listen, everybody, I'm going to tell you right now, Changing the Stars, a memoir. This is one of my books of the year. Okay. And as you all know, in the Scheers, when you come here, I've got about 6 or 7 books that I just always keep. Guarantee you, this will be the book that will be here that I'll refer to. You want to talk about resilience. You hear me say that word quite often. This is truly the book that's going to show you the resilience. I'm going to have the link here for everybody to be able to order that. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This episode of Fostering Change is sponsored by Comfort Cases, a national nonprofit that inspires our communities to bring hope and dignity to our youth that are in foster care. For just $10 a month, you can support the Comfort Cases mission and help us eliminate trash bags for kids who are entering foster care. For every $10 that you give, Comfort Cases will give a Comfort XL to a child entering the system. Be part of the change. Visit comfortcases.org. Well, like always, it's another amazing conversation. Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you something. I am probably one of the luckiest people in the world. I say that not just because of the fact that I'm a dad to 5 of the most amazing kids, but, I get to do what I love to do every single week. And that is to talk to people that actually become my friends because their story just absolutely moves me. The first half of Fostering Change today, Cody, we really got to know of who you are now. The fact that you are an amazing human, first of all, let's get that out of the way. Number 2, you are a husband, you are a hairdresser to, I want to say to the stars, because, and by the way, we both are from DC at the same time. So that was a little bit, yes, you were
Oh, well,
actually you come to DC as well.
I'll be there tomorrow.
I told you that I stalk you.
I
I
love it.
literally live 15 minutes, and Reese worked at the DC Aveda, and I lived in DC for 20 years. So, but there's and you're going, wow.
Oh, yeah, I've been working there for 7 years.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So listen, we
I'm
have a
sorry,
lot.
17 years.
So I'm going to tell you, I think our paths have crossed and we don't even know it. But you know
Wow.
what? You and I have a lot in common. But the thing that I want to talk about, in your, memoir, Changing the Stars, I want to know, how did you get to here?
Well, I mean, to sum up my story, it's basically homeless to Hollywood. So I guess that's a valid point. I chose it. With every breath I took, I chose happiness. And I think that's the biggest message in my book. Whatever happiness looks like to you, happiness is obviously a state of mind. And if you are not happy, I always say, if you're not happy with $10 in your pocket, you're not going to be happy with $10 million in your pocket. If you're not happy with very little to your name, you're not going to be happy with, happiness is a choice you make every single day, no matter how big or small that choice is. So I think my biggest message in my book is choose happiness. You're choosing something. You might as well choose happiness. You're choosing something every day, and find out what that is, because there's no downside to choosing happiness. And my book isn't just what was me. It's not just about what happened to me. It's also kind of a self-help book, and teaching you how to overcome and not identify as a victim anymore. And at a certain point, you're only a victim of yourself if you're not doing the work. So you have to choose. You have to choose happiness. Otherwise, you're not surviving and you're not living.
Right. And I truly do believe that. I believe that so much of our life is about choices that we make. I remind people that in foster care, I truly believe that we have three choices. Choice number one, we give up. Suicide was something that, we know it's a high rate within our foster care system. Choice number two, you give in. You commit that crime, you go behind bars. Right now, 72% of our death row inmates were actually in foster care. Or three, you actually give it all you got. And that's the choice that you make. So when you say choices, I wholeheartedly believe that, Cody, that it's so much about the choices that we seem to make and choosing happiness. Something you just said though is you said whether you have $10 in your pocket or 10 million, if you're not happy, you truly are not happy within your inner self. Do you believe that any of that happiness that you were able to now rejoice in came from the fact of also forgiveness?
Happiness definitely came from forgiveness, but forgiveness was never a struggle for me. Forgiveness, I think I learned from a very early age, even like very, very early. And while I was being abused, I remember looking in my abuser's eyes and thinking, hurt people, that this person is broken. So for me, forgiveness was never a fact. I just recognized that the people that were hurting me were already broken. And so forgiving them or not forgiving them never factored into it. I just recognized that was a broken person who needed to be healed. So I moved on. I needed to heal myself. So I didn't need to worry about whether I'm forgiving them or not, because that's just poison, just not forgiving or even having to contemplate that. You just have to let it go.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I truly believe that forgiveness is to gather the strength back to yourself and not for the person that you're forgiving, by the
Has
way.
nothing to do with them
Nothing
whatsoever.
to do with them. I have to tell you, I'm the youngest of 10 kids. And so all of my brothers and sisters, we're scattered. Most of them are passed away because of the system. But I have a sister that I am very close to. And when I first started to read your book, I saw that you dedicated your book to your sister. And,
Yes.
as we wind down this amazing conversation, I want you to tell me, what does your sister mean to you?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, my sister, for those who haven't read my book or know anything, my sister literally, when my mom was a prostitute. We were homeless, living under bridges, anything that had a roof. And she would disappear. She was strung out on drugs and she would just disappear. My sister, who's 3 years older than me, had to find food, had to change my diapers, not only mine, my two younger brothers, and we had an older sister who was mentally unstable that needed a lot of extra attention as well. So my sister Sue is my hero, and it was a no-brainer to dedicate this. She kept me alive. I mean, what do you do for someone who kept you alive, and not only kept me alive, but encouraged me in every possible way ever, just like a mother anyone should do that loves you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that when I saw the dedication and then reading the book and seeing the bond and just how, and I think each and every one of us, we crave that mother figure, that mother connection. And I felt like Sue truly gave you that when you needed it. And I
She
and it
still does.
Yeah, I truly believe that. She's your biggest fan, your biggest critic. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you. Listen, Cody, it has been an absolute pleasure. I
Oh my
am so,
God.
so excited. I am excited for people to get out and read this book. As you all can see, I have my little stickies. When I have stickies on a book, you know what that means. I absolutely fell in love with it. And I highlighted stuff and things that I just truly impacts me. And I know that this book will impact you. And so, listen, Cody, keep doing what you're doing. By the way, everybody, if you want to, Cody, where can people find you at?
For
For
uh,
anywhere. Let's throw out some social media love.
I'm on Hair by Cody Renegar on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, Cody Renegar on Facebook. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, because I mean, the fact is you're not only a hairstylist, you're an artist, you're an author. I mean, let me tell you something, you got it all wrapped up in it. And by the way, I absolutely love your energy. So
Can I add something?
Sure.
Did you get to the part where I mentioned the black trash bags in my book?
I know.
Yes, I'm so on board. I'm coming back to this podcast because we have a lot more to do.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you something. Cody, I didn't even want to touch base on that yet because I want you to be back on my podcast and really talk about more of the similarities, of that whole trash bag situation that we have both lived. And now, with comfort cases, we have delivered over 185,000 comfort cases to all 50 states to eliminate that trash bag. And it's people like you that are helping to continue to have the dialogue and for writing amazing books. Listen, everyone, this is so exciting. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Some of the biggest things that you can do for us is number one, leave a comment. Number two, get somebody to listen to this podcast. Subscribe onto our YouTube channel. You want to listen to it on your iPods or your iBuds. We're on Apple and Google and Spotify. You name it, we're there. And it's all because of you. So until next time, continue to do me a big favor. Be a good human. Take care. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening or watching the latest episode of Fostering Change. All of us on our team hope that you've learned something new today and have been inspired to be a good human. Now, just a reminder that you can always find Fostering Change on your favorite channels on Google, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and others, including, of course, comfortcases.org. I want to give a big thank you to all of you for joining us each and every week. And a reminder that if you have a suggestion for a guest, or maybe you might have a question about today's podcast, or are interested in becoming a sponsor of Fostering Change, please don't hesitate to email me personally at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, that's it for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.